Hi, I'm Anna the Wolfe, and I welcome you here today to this 15th in a series of transformative tales. And today is a little different because you and I decided to go for a walk. And we thought the best, most beautiful scenery was going to be down by the creek. And so we took a little path and walked down to a footpath that followed along the creek. And we could hear the rushing water, and there was just a coolness to the air that was so refreshing. And you suggested that there was a little beach up ahead that maybe we should go sit on, and I thought it was a great idea. And so we headed down there. And that's when we noticed across from us, there was a raccoon on the other side, on the shore opposite of us. And he was in the right place for a raccoon down by the creek. But every time he reached his paw out to grab a minnow, he pulled out of the water a piece of trash. He grabbed an aluminum can. He grabbed an old Frito wrapper. He grabbed gum. He grabbed beer bottle caps. And you can tell he was getting frustrated, but and he was really focusing and saying, I want a minnow. I want a minnow this time. Please let it be a minnow. And nab, he'd grab it, and out would come some other piece of garbage. And because that's what he could grab, he turned it all around and ate every little bit of whatever was on it, whatever stuck to it. And it was usually some kind of coagulated nacho cheese or old dried up bean paste or any number of things that really were not minnows and were not anything that Raccoon was aiming for. And he kept going on like this. Regardless of what he reached for, he pulled out trash. And he sauntered off, and you saw that he was frustrated because when you reach for something, you expect to be able to grab it. But this just wasn't within his ability any longer. His reach was entirely affected by his aim. And so he decided to go find his cousin and talk to him about it because Ringtail Cat was almost always full of insight. And so he sauntered off down the path, and you could hear him meet up with Ringtail Cat. And he said, hey, Ringtail Cat, thanks for meeting with me. This is getting really out of hand. Every time I reach for something, I end up with garbage. And I'm really tired of it. And I'm starting to look really gross. My fur is lackluster. It's kind of oily. And my teeth are starting to look bad. And I just don't feel good anymore. And I want to eat minnows. That's my favorite food. And Ringtail Cat was like, oh man, that's hard. Have you had your eyes checked? Have you been over to see Osprey and had your eyes looked at? Because sometimes it's just a matter of you need some new specs, And he said, no, actually my vision's fine. Osprey did check them out. And yeah, I've got 20/20. It's impeccable vision. Actually, it's even better at night. You should see me go at night. And Ringtail said, yeah, me too, right? Nocturnes, yeah. Well, Ringtail said, when did this start for you? I don't remember you having this problem in the past, Raccoon. And Raccoon was like, man, it's been a while. And he thought, he's like, this aim issue, grabbing trash, has been going on for a couple years now before I really realized how big of a problem it was. And I think if I go back to when I first noticed the problem, I was just a kit. I was a kit, and I was fishing for minnows and pulling out clams, freshwater clams, and having some grubs and some blackberries along the shore, all my favorite stuff. And I felt really good. I was doing fine. I didn't have a problem learning how to hunt. I really did understand that. But, you know, what happened was Badger came down the shore and he said, "Hey, Trash Panda, how's it going?" And all of the other animals that were around kind of laughed, and they thought it was really funny because I do look like a panda. And I guess there was some trash around me on the shore at the time that made him think that I was somehow associated with the trash. But anyway, he called me that. And then when he left, I started thinking about it. I'm like, maybe I am associated with trash. Everybody seemed to call me Trash Panda after that. And maybe I'm not really a minnow blackberry kind of raccoon. Maybe I'm more of a trash kind of raccoon. But I didn't really believe it all the way down to my core. And Ringtail Cat said, "Man, that is rough. That's a hard one to get past. When someone has given you a name like Trash Panda and it sticks. And then you start to believe it yourself. And that's the worst." Raccoon's like, "Man, has this ever happened to you, Ringtail? Because you're so amazing. And I see you hunting for all the right things. And I've never seen you eat trash ever. Ever. Not once." And Ringtail said, "Yeah, people used to mistake me for a lemur all the time. Because, I've got this really long plush tail and I've got these big round eyes, and people called me lemur for a while. And I started to wonder if maybe I was a lemur, even though they don't even live in this area. But I thought, hey, if they say it, it might be true." And so then I decided what I needed to do was fashion a truth keeper. And he held up his tail, and it had these big rings on it. And he said, "You see this ring in the middle of my tail? Watch this." And he actually could turn the ring on his tail. And he said, "This is a ring. And this is the one that I call truth. And I keep track of it. And anytime somebody says, 'Hey, lemur,' I look at my tail and I turn the ring just to myself. And I think, no, I'm a ringtail cat." And Raccoon said, "Wow, don't you get angry at them for calling you lemur?" And he said, "You know what? I used to get angry, but I figure that's really not anything I want to waste my time on. I'm too busy hunting. So I usually just check in with my tail, check my rings, and I continue on, and I don't even answer them anymore. I just keep walking." Raccoon was like, "Oh man, that's amazing. Do you think that would work for me?" He's like, "You know what? There's only one way to find out. Why don't you pick something about yourself that reminds you of who you really are? And regardless of what they call you tonight, just check in with yourself. You need a truth keeper, Raccoon, because you are a raccoon." So the night fell, and it was time for Raccoon to go hunting. And he went down to the edge of the shore, and he thought, "I'm a raccoon. I am a raccoon." And he reached down in the water and fished around, and he found he could feel bottle caps, and he could feel wrappers, and he could feel cans. And then he felt scales, and he pulled out a minnow and he ate it. Oh man, was it good. It felt so good to eat what he was supposed to have. He was down there feasting on minnows for hours. He was so happy. And Badger walked up and goes, "Hey, Trash Panda, what you doing tonight? Having yourself a trashy feast?" And Raccoon just looked at him, and he slipped on a mask, a black mask over his eyes, and he touched it. And he remembered, no, I'm a raccoon. And in the mask, he became invisible to Badger, and he just silently walked away. I hope that you've enjoyed this tale about Raccoon, and that you remember there's no such thing as a trash panda unless we decide to make it so. And I hope that this day finds you well and full of minnows. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really enjoy telling these tales, and I hope you'll join me for the next one, because I think I feel a good one coming on. I might just stay here and tell it in just a minute. So I hope you'll join me. Thanks.